I was honored to be back again at the International Energy Forum, this time to be asked to chair one of the panels. I had the honor to be working in the White House when the King of Saudi Arabia asked President Bush to have the United States join the International Energy Forum when it was being launched. And I was responsible for managing that, and I was very supportive. And as I mentioned in my remarks, what the IEF has done has really even exceeded my expectations, not just for improving the collection and organization and harmonization of data, which is so important, for bringing together also people today as they have from diverse perspectives, officials, private sector, think tanks, energy companies, investors, to discuss these issues. So it's a incomparable, really, forum and convening power, and I'm just honored to be part of it. The theme, I think, that came out both in my panel and the broad discussions is, I would say, a shift back to a more realistic and balanced energy discussion. In my view, the period between the Paris Agreement 2015 and perhaps late 2021, when oil prices were rising, and certainly the beginning of the war in Ukraine, I think that period will be looked at as sort of a high plateau in optimism about a very quick transition to net zero. And I think a lot of that discussion was unmoored from reality. And it led to more wishful thinking about the pace of energy transitions, and I think some harmful consequences for investment and policy. And I think what you're hearing today, and we've heard in the last few meetings of the IEF, is a move not away from the need to decarbonize, not away from the need to reduce emissions, to make energy consumption and production sustainable. That will stay. But you're seeing a return to reality, a return to discussions about energy affordability, energy security, and energy cost. And so in that, you heard things like, yes, from China, that while it may be approaching a plateau in oil consumption, especially for diesel and gasoline, it's not ready to fall off of a cliff. You know, while the U.S. is growing, in terms of its production, perhaps, drill baby drill may be a little optimistic in terms of a huge increase in production. So the return to reality isn't just about the pace of an energy transition. It's all about what is feasible given geology, given economics, given industry realities, given infrastructure. And so there were messages of realism there for both those who are concerned and want to see a quick transition, as well as those who are hoping for, sudden and abrupt increase in production. So I think that's what makes both this forum, the meeting in general, and my panel special. That it was sort of truth tellers, realism kind of came through there. I think it's important for anyone investing in renewable energy, and in the case of transportation sector, that would be more battery electric vehicles and so forth. I think it's really important to make sure that your business model does not require protracted subsidies or mandates from the government, okay? If your technology can scale up and make returns without a push or a pull from government mandates or government subsidies, then that's fine. I think that's going to be both a clean and a profitable way to produce energy, and there'll be demand for it. The concern, though, is, especially, and there was a discussion today about high interest rates, cost of capital being higher, the overall economic environment more uncertain with tariffs. We talked a lot about tariffs today, and trade wars, okay? This is a precarious environment to invest in, especially in high-cost technologies that may not enjoy future government subsidies and mandates. So one has to be cautious and careful when selecting those technologies. It may be that in terms of solar and wind and the power sector, there are scalable technologies that don't require sustained heavy subsidies. On the transportation side, I think we have to be a little more cautious, though. If you're betting on the government to force consumers to drive cars that they otherwise don't want to drive, that's going to be a tough sell. In my experience, the places where we see sustainable, let's say, decarbonized energy grow are in rich countries. So countries almost need to get rich before they can get clean. Now the good news is the technology for producing and consuming even hydrocarbons, which are the cheapest, densest, most storable and transportable form of energy on the planet still, even their production and consumption is much more efficient than it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago. But I think the global south, countries that are developing, and we heard that here, they are going to need to get wealthy first. And that means accessing cheap, affordable, reliable energy. And once you build your wealth, then you can afford to deploy the technologies that can make your energy consumption sustainable. Heading back towards realism, where it should be. We should reach for the sky but keep our feet on the ground. It does no one any good to invest or bet or plan on wildly unrealistic energy aspirations. It hasn't helped my country. Back in the early 1970s, when we talked about being energy independent by 1980, we've seen delusion over and over in energy over the past few decades. I'm not quite sure why energy is prone to delusional thinking in a way other areas of economic activity, even health and other things, are not. But there's something about energy that makes people think we can have spectacular transformations in a very short period of time. I don't think that does anyone any good, really. Better to keep our feet on the ground, better to be realistic, better to always move forward, always invest, always try to become cleaner, more sustainable.